All right, all right. Welcome to the Georgia Florida Baseball Show, viewed on the Georgia Showcase Baseball YouTube channel and brought to you by Georgia Showcase Baseball and its owner, my co-host, Coach Ben House. Ben, how we doing?
Doing good, Kevin. How are you today?
Man, I'm good. I am good. I'm your host, Kevin Perkins, and today we have Bryan Lewallyn, Pensacola State College head coach and athletic director. Bryan, how are we?
Hey, doing great. Doing great. Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on. I'm excited to have Bryan here because I think we're going to cover some aspects of college athletics and travel ball and high school ball that we haven't covered yet. We've talked to several people that have worked in the junior college realm, in the college realm, but I think Bryan, as an athletic director, has that overall view that you wouldn't get normally. And then I think that people that look at things in a big picture see big pictures in other realms as well. And so I think you may be able to discuss some things. We talked about high school athletics a little bit in our private conversation before, and I'd like to kind of jump into some of that as well. Bryan grew up around baseball. His father is Dennis Lewallyn, an 8-year big leaguer and a longtime minor league coach. I think you grew up somewhere between Pensacola and Dodgertown, right?
Yeah, Pensacola, Dodgerstown, Bakersfield, California, Canada, Dominican Republic, Japan, everywhere in between. So, man, I had an awesome life, an awesome childhood growing up around the game. Didn't realize, how fortunate I was until, I got a little bit older and realized, hey, every kid doesn't get to experience, the things that I did. And particularly, with my dad's time with the Dodgers, that period of time, the Dodgers in Dodgertown. I mean, anybody who experienced Dodgertown while the Dodgers were there knows it was a family environment. I mean, you could walk around Dodgertown and bump into, Hall of Famers, Sandy Koufax, I remember seeing Roy Campanella and guys like that as a kid. And, I just, it was special. It was special. Just unbelievably blessed and fortunate to have that experience growing up as a kid.
Right, right. Okay, so obviously the question that guys Ben and my age want to know is Oral Hershiser cool?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, and kind of a funny story. His nephew is on our team this year. Yeah, so Oral obviously was with the Dodgers. My dad was coaching at that period, and really, quick story, memory, whatever. So my dad was in Vero Beach as the pitching coach with the Single A club, and that season would get over, and my dad would come home, and it seemed like, for about 5 or 6 years in a row, the big league team would end the season, or towards the end of the season would always make a trip to Atlanta. So we would go up, see the big league club, and it was awesome because Tommy Lasorda was the manager at the time, and he was actually my dad's manager in AAA when my dad was a player in Albuquerque. And my dad played with guys like Mike Scioscia, Mickey Hatcher, whatever. And we would go up there and catch a series. We'd get to hang out in the clubhouse, stuff like that. And one of my childhood memories was taking the team bus from the hotel to it was Atlanta Fulton County Stadium at the time. But Oral, sat with me and my brother on the bus and talked to us, from the hotel to the stadium, and that was just super cool, man. I mean, he didn't have to do that. He probably doesn't remember it, but it's obviously something that sticks out as a kid. And so that's why you love to see all these guys nowadays that take time to spend time with kids and take care of them and stuff like that. Super cool dude. Really, really smart, intelligent guy. I mean, you can listen to him talk on broadcast or whatever, and tell he knows what he's doing. But and then his brother Gordy, my dad was coaching in the Dodger organization. A lot of people didn't realize that he had a brother that played minor league baseball. So a little bit of connection to that family.
Wow, that is cool. That is cool. All right, so we're going to talk about your journey to being the head coach at PSC and the AD at PSC, along with some ways in which some things that you emphasize when you recruit, along with travel ball and the future high school baseball and stuff like that. All of that after this.
This is the Georgia-Florida Baseball Show, brought to you by Coach Ben House with Kevin Perkins from Surrounded by Sports.
Welcome back. This is a two-part episode. The first part, the part you're watching currently, is going to be about Bryan Lewallyn and how he grew up, as he was grew up in a big league household. And then we're going to delve into his journey to getting the head coaching and athletic director job at PSC, Pensacola State College. And then he's going to discuss what he looks for in recruits. Ben's going to jump in and talk a little bit about all those aspects, along with what Ben's looking for as he's building his own organization as well. And after you get done with this one, please watch part 2.
Welcome back. Like, subscribe to the Georgia Showcase Baseball YouTube channel. Comment on this episode. Follow us on Instagram. And thank you to Arden's Garden, our sponsor, Atlanta's source for smoothies, juices, plant-based foods, and of course, Showcase Apparel, which also sponsors the show and is owned by one Ben House. So we just talked a little bit about how you grew up. Now, you also are a Pensacola native. You played at Pine Forest High School, which was was very good, and still, very good school in the Pensacola area, very good baseball school at that time. You go to at that time, JC, which is, I have a degree from PJC as well.
Yeah.
And then you wind up at UCF. You wind up, and what's your degree in? I apologize.
It's business administration.
Business administration. So that winds up getting used as you wind up with the New Orleans Zephyrs.
Yeah. So, got done, graduated college like most kids, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. At the time I was playing a lot of golf. And so I moved back home for a period of time and worked at a golf course. I thought that, I wanted to maybe do something career in golf. And I learned quickly that playing and working in golf are two big different animals. So wanted to get back in baseball, made a connection over in New Orleans. And, anybody that's worked in minor league baseball knows that, it's everything from marketing to pulling the tarp, to community service stuff. And was able to utilize that business degree a little bit there and worked for the Zephyrs for a year. At the time, it was the Mets AAA affiliate, and got the opportunity after that to come back here and coach Pensacola Pelicans. At the time, was an independent team in the American Association, and Max Siebert, scout in the area, got the job as the manager of the Pelicans. We had a relationship, and he offered me kind of my first start in coaching. So that was that avenue.
Right. Ben, Max Siebert?
Man, I do. And when he said he was coaching, I didn't know that. That was the first time I've heard that. I played with Mac's brother, Mark Siebert.
Right.
We played throughout, youth baseball, 13U, All-Stars, and all throughout high school. So I heard a lot about Max from him being at Tate and
right.
being a dog at Tate. Yeah. So I didn't know that.
Mac was the ace on the national championship team from Tate.
Exactly. Yeah, and Mark was a pretty good shortstop over at Tate.
Real good shortstop and third baseman, right? But Mac winds up being a scout, and multiple guys he brought in. He brought a friend of mine, Mike Valorizo, into the scouting business as well. Now, Ben, tell me real quick, why we needed to have Bryan on the show.
Well, I'm a Pensacola guy. So, Pensacola State now? Well, it was PJC back then, and I lived maybe 3 blocks from PJC, and I would always go over to PJC and always dream. As a child, you always dream about playing, college baseball, pro baseball, and that was one of my dreams, is to to play at PJC one day, and now it's Pensacola State. But to make a long story short, my son Jamie decided he wanted to go the JUCO route, and we took a couple of visits. Went to Gulf Coast. Pensacola State was one of the stops, and I got a chance to talk to Bryan a little bit after our workout, and man, and when I watch, and I don't usually watch practices, I kind of just let Jamie do his thing, but just going out there and just seeing the way he conducts practices and how he pays attention to detailed things, and just getting a chance to, after the workout, getting a chance to pick his brain a little bit, and we talked, and then we stayed in touch with each other throughout the whole time, man, and I just enjoyed watching him work while he was working, and I see the success that he's having, and not only that, just knowing the conference that he plays in, he's playing competitive baseball, and I wanted him to come on the show and just talk about what he does on a daily basis, not just from only coaching but recruiting standpoint, because we have kids in this program that are going to be looking to go to college one day, and that's one of the schools that I would recommend my kids to go to is Pensacola State. So I want him to come on and kind of just let the audience hear what he has to say.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny. You say, you used to walk over there. When I was young, my dad would take me to the PJC games. I don't know if you know this, and I don't think he even knows it, but when I was young, Mark Hobley was an outfielder at PJC, and Keith Leonard was the catcher and the pitcher. And those two guys were two of my favorite ball players. And then I wound up coaching with Mark at Washington at one point, stuff like that. And so it's kind of neat how a community school like that, you can that's where it's one thing when you watch guys play on TV. It's another thing when you see a high level of ball as a young player in your community, and you get to kind of see the kids, and they'll hand you a ball over the rail or whatever, and it inspires you in ways that it can't through a television set, if that makes sense. Having a good community college. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't even know Mark played at PJC. He was just always he was just always my coach at Washington.
Correct.
So I was a little kid, and Mark probably wasn't any more than 20, a little bit over 24, 25, but I always looked at him as a grown adult. I didn't know that he played college baseball or so it's funny how time kind of reflects and it makes you kind of go back and look down memory lane,
100%.
And things like that. But yeah.
100%. Now, Bryan, you go from the Pelicans to Northwest Florida State College, correct? Which is in your conference, and it's a very good school.
Yeah.
And then you get the opportunity to go to University of South Carolina, Beaufort, right? And you have success there. You start out as an assistant. You wind up being the interim and then the head. You had pretty good success there. And then I think you got a coach of the year there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, sure. I got coach of the year there. Sure. Okay. So then you wind up at PSC, and you're working for Bill Hamilton, who did he straight hand over the job? Was he the head coach and the AD, and then you replaced him as head coach?
No. So Bill, I played for Bill here when he was coaching, and Doug Martin was the assistant at the time. And then that's how I got hooked up over at Northwest Florida. Doug was the head coach there. Shortly after I left Northwest Florida and went to South Carolina, Keith Little, who played here and coached here for a long time, took over as the head coach when Bill retired from the coaching aspect, moved into the AD role. And then Keith was here for several years, and then I followed Keith. So there was a gap in between Bill and I, but then Bill hired me and obviously was the AD here for a period of time, and retired. Retired right before COVID or during COVID, completely, and so kind of got thrown into the fire, so to speak, in the AD role. kind of going through that period. But that was kind of the transition, the timeline.
Right. Now, what are some of the challenges as being both head coach and athletic director?
Oh man, the first one is time and attention. Obviously, first love is baseball, you want to be, you just want to dive in and do baseball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But with 8 sports now, we're growing, we're expanding the athletic department. I mean, we added women's soccer last year was the first year. We added esports, gaming. They actually won a national championship in Call of Duty last year. So doing those things from the administrative role, there's a lot of stuff that goes on within the institution that connects to athletics, and you're getting pulled a bunch of different directions. And so, there's some guys that I rely on. All the other athletic directors in the conference, really, really good guys. They're very approachable. Obviously, Jeff Johnson over at Chipola, the AD and baseball coach at Chipola. So, I call him, pick his brain sometimes. Mike Candler, who Mike was my high school coach at Pine Forest. He became the head coach at Gulf Coast and then the athletic director at Gulf Coast. So I'll pick up the phone and call Mike. They kind of I can bounce thoughts, ideas. I can pick up the phone and just kind of vent to them sometimes. But they're really good resources. But like you said, the challenge is, man, it's balancing time and attention. Obviously, Jeff Johnson told me this one day, and it's absolutely true. He said every morning you come in with a plan, and by 9:30 that plan's out the window, and you're putting out fires, and you're you're just doing other stuff. And so in this role now as an athletic director and baseball coach, probably the most important thing for me is having good coaches around me and coaching our other sports, and we do, man. Since I've been in this role, I had Drew Lewallyn as an assistant coach. Obviously, Drew, son of Richard, longtime coach at Catholic.
Legendary.
Drew, yeah, great playing career. Drew's a tremendous young coach. Hired after he left, he got a Division I job. I hired Drew Frederick. Drew's with me now, does a great job, and so they handle a lot of baseball stuff when I can't always be there. But then obviously our coaches of the other sports too, just as important. I have to know that they can, run their program, and when they need me, let me know. But the biggest one is time and attention. I want to be on that phone recruiting, for baseball. I want to be fundraising for baseball. I want to be, practicing. And as you guys said, man, this is the best junior college conference in the country.
And we are back. Welcome back. Like, subscribe to the Georgia Showcase Baseball YouTube channel. Comment on this episode. Follow us on Instagram. Thank you to Arden's Garden, Atlanta's source for smoothies, juices, and plant-based foods. And thank you to Showcase Apparel and Ben for sponsoring the show. Now that is done. Okay, so we were talking before, you said you like to be on the phone, you like to be recruiting. What are some of the things that you look for when you're recruiting a young ball player?
Obviously the first and most obvious one is ability. You show up to the field, you want the best players. The better players that you get, the easier your job is as a coach. But a couple things you look for. Athleticism. I like guys that have played multiple sports. Overall athletes. The reason being is they traditionally transition into being coachable, not necessarily from a standpoint of understanding, but being able to, make an adjustment a little bit because of the overall athleticism. The eye test when you show up, what do guys look like? You love to have big physical guys, so that look good in a uniform. not everybody's 6'4", 225. If you're a smaller guy, that doesn't mean you can't play. You just got to do some other things a little bit different. And so watching the games are honestly the most important thing to me, because perfect example. We very competitive league, but there's a kid over at Northwest Florida, Colby Jones, maybe a little undersized, like I was talking about, but man, he was always in the right spot, high energy, playing hard, and he's a winner. So you look for the things. What do winners do? Winners do winning things, man. They back up bases. They run balls out. You hear them in the dugout pumping their team up. Winners aren't throwing their helmet or yelling at the umpires or stuff like that. So those are kind of the things we look for. We try to watch how guys interact with their teammates, how they interact with their parents coming off the field. Because if you see a kid who's disrespectful to his coach or to his parents or something like that, man, we got no chance. They're not gonna follow suit with us either. So from a tool standpoint, I mean, can you hit? Can you hit with power? Can you run? Arm strength? Can you catch it and throw it across the infield? That type of stuff. That's kind of easy to see. But when you're looking for guys, I mean, shoot, we could talk about this all day long. The different things you look for, but man, do they look good in a uniform? Do they play hard? On the mound, can they spin a breaking ball? Can they throw it for a strike? Are they competitive? That's probably one of the biggest is, how do they respond to a tough day? There's been a lot of days, man, and you don't get it right all the time in recruiting, but there have been a lot of days where I've gone to see a kid and, he goes 0 for 4 and maybe walks out to the outfield or doesn't play catch with his teammate in between innings, and you're like, oh, that's going to be tough, but you see a guy go 0 for 4, he can hit. You see him go 0 for 4 and he's picking up his teammates or he's running out to the outfield. You go, all right, that kid's going to bounce back, because baseball's a game of failure. Everybody's going to fail. The ones that are traditionally the best are the ones that have a short memory. They put it behind them and they go do something else to help their team win. So right. Those are kind of the things that we're looking at.
Well, that's interesting that you said that, because sometimes you can learn more about a guy. Well, Ben, sometimes you learn more about a guy on his bad day than on his good day, right?
Yeah. Well, with me, coaching younger kids, I kind of, it's the reverse of what Bryan is doing. Is I look for parents. I recruit parents. So the stuff that Bryan's talking about, I can teach that. I try to teach that at a young age, how to bounce back from failure. But with my thing, I try to get good parents into my program so that they can implement the things that I'm trying to teach the kids. If I'm telling the kid one thing, I need the parents telling them the same things. Wow. So that when they get to a point to where Bryan's looking at them, when they get a little older, that's already engraved in them. Yeah. So that's kind of how I work and operate with trying to recruit good parents, because when you're getting kids 8, 9, 10 years old, it's like a sponge. They're sponges. So they're whatever you put in them, they're going to absorb it. If you put good stuff in them, they're going to absorb it. If you put bad stuff in them, they're going to absorb it. So yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to end that episode right there. I hope you enjoyed that. The next episode, Bryan's going to discuss building a coaching staff and high school sports and some of our concerns as to where they go in the era of travel ball and how that works out. We'll let you know when that's going to come out on our Instagram, and like, subscribe. And that way you won't have to be told when it's going to go, because it'll pop right up. And like, subscribe, comment on this episode. Georgia, Florida Baseball Show on the Georgia Showcase Baseball YouTube channel. Thank you very much.